Hello everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome back to my chapter-by-chapter reviews of Tite Kubo's first ever serialized manga, published in 1999, Zombie Powder. And we were going to be getting Volume 3, Chapter 15 in this episode. And yeah, let's just get right into it, because last chapter was really pumping, you know, with the big fight finally being underway. Gamma just raids the freaking tent and makes that bold declaration, like, you're not laying your hands on Emilio. So we continue on with that. We start off with Elwood and Smith that are currently on their way to Mystic's tent. I suppose Gamma it's kind of sucky because Gamma could just Karin Zanjutsu, wings, and he could just fly through the freaking thing like a crow in the night. And he arrived there and he like split the freaking tent open from the air. Meanwhile, we have Smith and Elwood that are just happening to walk there, and it's funny because Smith is just kind of like power walking. He's not really exerting himself. He's just like, ah, yes, this is such a late night jog. You know, maybe we should stop by that Starbucks for a cappuccino on the way back. You know, something like that. Meanwhile, Elwood is just like freaking sprinting like hell. He's like the bastard. He's like, he's running like as fast as he can just to keep up with Smith, who's just like casually power walking. And Smith's just like, oh, good, you're keeping up. And just like, yeah, of course I am. So it's hilarious to just how inhuman these guys are. I would imagine Gamma would be the same way. But Smith is just like running like 10 miles an hour and he's not even breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, Elwood has to really keep up with this guy. So Smith asks Elwood about his new knives. You know, what about those new knives you're supposed to get? And Elwood's just like, oh yeah, I bought them, all of them. Can you please not talk to me so much? I'm trying to run here. So he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. Just shut up so I can collect my breath. So we have like a little allusion, like maybe foreshadowing. So he bought some new knives, so that's pretty cool. Balkan Alcantara, maybe it was a knife town, I don't know. So anyway, it's like a log town in One Piece. You know, Zoro picks up his new swords or something. Like these are the knives he'll be using the rest of the series or something. I don't know. Well, anyway. So they arrive at Mystic's tent here. We get the chapter title, Zombie Powder, track number 15, Divisions. Alright, so we continue with the stare down that Gamma's having against Mystic here, and if you remember, the last thing that Gamma really said before the last chapter ended was, you're not laying one finger on Emilio, on Wolfina's brother, as long as I'm here. Mystic immediately, and he just kind of smirks at the end of last chapter, and it's followed up by this. He's just like, oh, okay, you won't allow me to lay any one finger on him. Well, you do realize I'm a fucking magician, right? Cloth, whoomp. And Emilio is just levitating. Oh, I mentioned I probably should do this. Yeah, I was sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I forget to pull the camera a little bit over to the right when I'm doing these. But anyway, so yeah, he just, does a magic trick before his eyes, pulls out a tarp and removes it, and freaking Emilio is just floating above him. And Wolfina looks behind him in the motorcycle and is like, oh shit, he's gone. I'm like, oh yeah, who would have thunk it, right? That the guy that has magical powers has magical powers. And I like the fact that it's not magic in the sense of like other series. It's not like magic to the sense where I could just throw fireballs or I could just summon lightning bolts to come down on you. It's not a really overcomplicated magical power that has a lot of intricacies to it. It's just, imagine a regular stage magician like Houdini, except all of his magic tricks, he could just call upon them whenever and it worked. Like the whole, oh, now you see me, now you don't. Or like, I'll pull a rabbit out of my hat, or I can pull a freaking Bengal tiger out of my hat. It's the same thing, just on these, like these insanely over-the-top degrees. So with that being said, Mystic now appears to warp Emilio away within this tarp or whatever, and then he calls out for his magical train. And then, this is really cool, the tarp that Emilio got fused to or got sucked into immediately transforms into a giant freaking locomotive, which then rockets out of the freaking tent going like 80, 90 miles an hour. And Wolfina is like freaking out. He's like, oh my shit, Emilio. So, I thought like this was going to be the tent. Like this was going to be like the main battle zone for everybody. Like Elwood and Smith would arrive on the scene at the last second. And then Gamma would be like, okay guys, here we go. Big epic battle royale. But no, the train just rockets out of the freaking tent, heading off into the desert in some direction. So, I guess Wolfina tries to go after Emilio, but on the weird clown posse, the insane clown posse stops her again. Just like, oh, we won't let you pass here, little girl. You just stay quiet now. But of course, they don't get a chance to finish their sentence because Smith and Elwood finally arrive on the scene. Smith lands, a single shot in each one of their heads. They go down, and kind of less interestingly, less impactfully, I should say, Elwood does manage to hit every single one of them with his new knives. However, it's very clear from this panel that he's not the one that killed him, because one of the knives hits them in like his neck and like the base of his neck, like right here. That's not a fatal wound. Another one hits him in his hand. That's not a fatal wound. He doesn't even seem to hit the third guy, but if Smith just like pops shots off and like manages to hit each one in the skull, so they all go down. And even though Elwood probably wasn't the one who killed them. Smith is kind of like saying, like praising him a little bit. He's like, hey, you hit the targets from this distance. I mean, you've improved definitely, because this is a pretty huge tent, and they just kind of appeared from one end, and the fact that Elwood would even manage to hit their the opponent from the other side of the tent with throwing knives is pretty impressive, even if they weren't fatal shots. Elwood's just like, just shut up, whatever. He's like, so Wolfina asks Gamma, like, who are these two strange characters? They were kind of I don't know if she saw them last chapter when he showed up at the hospital in the night, because they were hiding in a bush for some reason. So I guess Wolfina doesn't even know who these guys are. Emma states that Elwood is in fact his disciple and Smith is his partner. Elwood's just like, who are you calling a disciple? I don't know what he's mad about that for. I mean, I would be happy if Gamma Akutabe is calling you his disciple. I mean, that's a big deal, because I mean, you're not going to be on the same level as Smith where you're like the same level of power, but hey, disciple implies that, hey, I'm going to watch after you, I'm going to help you get stronger, I'm going to teach you all my skills. I'd be happy with disciple. But anyway, Gamma states, you should go head after Amelia, we'll handle things here in the tent. So Wolfmina's just like, okay, whatever, thanks, and she, rockets out of the freaking tent. Nobody stops her. I guess nobody would really want to try. Pretty much everyone in this tent should be dead by now. Really, you think they should be, because Mystic, he's still there, but all the other main groups of the clowns, the insane clown posse, got taken out by Gamma and by Smith in this chapter, and like the majority of the freaking performance got wiped out by that high octane freaking lightning drag ring cannon or whatever the hell he was using last chapter. So yeah. Also, I forgot to mention though, but I should probably bring this up now, is exactly what the limit Gamma has on that, because he has to have a limit. Even though he's really skilled at that Karin Zanjutsu, he can't be throwing out those huge freaking like high octane attacks constantly and being expected, like, oh yeah, I can just use that massive attack every single time I want. There has to be a limiter on how much he has. So he doesn't look that tired or anything, but I'm sure he can't just pull that off whenever he wants to. But anyway, so Mystic's like, oh, you think that you're going to fight me? Well, actually, I'm going to go chase after that train. So, au revoir, and he just kind of like warps away using freaking Komoi or whatever. He like spins in the spiral pattern. He just like vanishes in midair. So Gamma's like, dude, what the hell? We were gonna have a fight. Now it's gone, right? Well, Mystic's the kind of guy that does that. Mystic's the kind of guy that's not gonna be like, hey, look, I'm not gonna fight you because that's probably gonna be very annoying and you might actually win. So I'm just gonna leave using my magical powers, which you do not have, and you can clearly not chase after me. So he warps away, and then immediately after he does warp away, the ground between Smith, Elwood, and Gamma just kind of shakes violently and erupts in the middle of the three, separating them all, erupts these giant pillars and these kind of like, I guess, more of the tarps, like the same material the tent's made out of. So they shoot up from the ground and they connect with the ceiling, so therefore Gamma's now in his own little room, Smith is in his, and Elwood's in his. So they're all divided, essentially, and Smith is just like, oh yes, divide and conquer, clever stratagem. Yes, clever stratagem. The fact that it's been used in practically every single Shounen manga to, it's been used in Bleach, quite recently in the Fullbringer arc. Everyone's just like, holy shit, all the captains are here. Holy shit, all the freaking Fullbringers are here. Well, we're not going to have any fun fighting in one big, massive, bloody battle right now, so let's just all go into separate rooms, so that way we can pad out the chapters, and then Yukio just uses his freaking PSP and just sends them all into different chat rooms. And this happens in a lot of other mangas, not just with, One Piece. This happens to the Enies Lobby arc, when they all have to fight in separate rooms. So, it's just, it's not really anything that new here. But anyway, we focus mostly on Gamma's fight in this chapter, and I'm going to be assuming that like next chapter might be Smith's, next chapter after that will be Elwood's fight, something like that. But for this chapter we focus on Gamma's, which is honestly the shortest. Doesn't really surprise you at all. Anyway, his opponent appears in this weird cloak type thing that's like the checkered pattern. He has like knives and swords sticking out of him. He has like a weird creepy ass mask, like from like a puppeteering mask or whatever. And he's like, my name is Guell, the great undead box. And he removes his cloak, revealing that he is in fact a guy in a box. That's the best way I could describe it. He's a guy in a box, except he's pierced with swords. So he's a lot like that magician trick, like mystic boxes. You have the two boxes up on stage, and the magician is like, come, my dear, my lovely assistant will stand in that one box. So, the assistant will stand in the one box, and you shut it up, and actually, there's no way out, there's no locks, there's no way escaping it, and he'll run the freaking thing through with swords, and he'll do it very elaborately. He'll, like, pull a sword out of his sleeve, and he'll be like, look at this, it's clearly a sword, shing, and he'll pull it again, it's like, shh. shing, and he'll like run the entire box through with swords, and he'll remove it, and it turns out the assistant's in the other box completely unharmed. So that's what this reminds me of. So yeah, this dude, I can't imagine really like what exactly how his what his story is. I mean, he has a pretty cool face. He has like a massive tattoo over his face here, and he's like doing this big announcement. He's like, Gamma Akatabi, I shall cut off your head with my swords. Gamma's just like pulling out his chainsaw sword. He's just kind of like chilling, just like, okay, whatever, dude. He's like, listen good, Waffle. His name's Guell. He's calling him Waffle. That's actually really hilarious. Listen good, Waffle. I'm only warning you once. He's like, my name is Guell. Yeah, whatever, shut up. I'm in a hurry right now because I got to go after Balmonk. So I'm just going to give you a nice little tidbit of information right now. Let me pass. Let me go after your boss, because if I fight you, you will die. Don't fight me if you don't want to die. That's what he tells him. He's very serious about that. You got that, Waffle? So he's just like, and the guy's just like, really? You're going to keep calling me that? Is that going to be a running gag? Is that going to be a thing now that he calls him Waffle through the end? Okay, fine. If we're going to do this, I need to make waffles. Okay, I'm sorry, but I can only take so much. It's early. I'm making freaking waffles. Okay, and you can never stir this enough times, especially for all the ingredients you have. Waffles are like one of the most interesting things ever to make, because you can like, it's just like the whatever you want to do, just toss it in there. If you want chocolate, toss chocolate. If you like peanut butter, you can toss peanut butter in there. I add cinnamon, because, you know, I did that cinnamon challenge that one time, and it almost killed me, but now I have a permanent, you know, taste for cinnamon stuck in my throat, so I gotta keep that up. And our waffle iron is set. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take this measuring cup and we're going to pour this nice gooey batter all in there. Yeah, just get in there, little buddy. I made way too much batter for this. Way too much. There's no way I'm going to be able to eat this all, but, you know, whatever. That's the fun stuff about batter, right, Lucky? Little batter humor there. Batter up, get it? You're a dog, you don't get it. All right, now, what you're going to want to do when you pour this... Oh, crap, there's a little water in here. Okay, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to not angle it down too much, or else you're going to have a major batter atrocity on your hands. God invented the waffle iron to keep waffles a uniform shape. You know, before this, we were just throwing shit down on a hot rock, and we were getting, you know, abominations upon waffle kind. I don't know if you're supposed to cover the batter over these little squares, or you're supposed to just pour it in like the little rivets. You know? I guess it's all for your taste, right? I mean, I'm not here to tell you how to make waffles. I'm just here to show you how to make waffles. Alright, gonna pour that in here. You know what I just realized about this Guell guy, or Guaffle guy, or whatever the hell his name is? He actually is like a lot like Sternritter V from Bleach, the recent Bleach chapters, if you really think about it. Hold on, let me just shut that there, and you may have some excess batter coming over the sides, but it's not really a big issue. He really is, because he's like freaking Sternritter V. God, not freaking Guell. Mystic. Yeah, that's who he is. That's like the last chapter. It's like, hey, here's a train. Here's a freaking, you know, I could spirit myself away. You know, last chapter he appeared in like the top of the freaking tent that he just summoned magically. You know, freaking Gremmy didn't do shit half that interesting, and he's supposed to be based around imagination. That's what his powers were supposed to be. So Kubo, that's what you could have done, just completely rehashed Mystic with Sternritter V. I mean, Mystic clearly doesn't have any freaking, you know, he doesn't abide by the laws of physics or reality. He just does whatever the fuck he wants to, you know? Someone to train out of nothing. I would actually like to see that. Gremmy decides, hey, you know what, Kenpachi Zaraki, bring it on. Just warps a freaking train out of nowhere. I mean, Kenpachi might be able to cut it up, but would you rather see Kenpachi slice up some lava, like an amorphous blob, with some black specks thrown in, or would you like to see him slice the fucking Hogwarts Express? Like 30, 40 cars length, just floom, and the whole thing just goes floom, and then the whole thing just crashes to the ground. Waffle smoke. But yeah, been cool to see, man. Just saying, really lost potential there. Okay, so they came out quite nicely, as you can see here. Got my waffle here. It all came out like the end is a little bit torn there, but you know. Good waffle, and its texture. Now, the difference between pancakes and waffles, in my opinion, I was actually having an argument with somebody at work, is, Pancakes are meant to be made on a skillet, obviously. I believe they're also meant to be a little bit more, mushy and softer. They're not really designed to be, like, really overly crispy. Like, if you have a pancake that's overly crispy, you have a waffle. That's in my opinion. That's why they don't make pancake irons, because pancakes are not supposed to be burnt, like, not crispy. They're supposed to be soft and mushy and like a cake. Waffles are pancakes that are crispy. So there's the difference. Alright, so what were we talking about again? Alright, Zombie Powder chapter. Okay, so, after being called Waffle again, the Guell guy just I'm just going to keep calling him Waffle, fuck it. So yeah, Waffle's just like, he's not having any of this for mocking his name, so he pulls out one of his swords and he just like slices a freaking pillar in half, effortlessly, so that falls in front of Gamma. And Gamma's just kind of, he's not even intimidated. Like, the thing, like, he drops the pillar, and it literally, like, this giant, like, 2-ton pillar just falls in the air, fling, like, right in front of Gamma's freaking nose. And Gamma doesn't move an inch. He doesn't budge. He's not freaking phased at all by this guy's freaking sad attempt at being intimidating. Gamma's just like, okay, dude, look, I'm telling you, don't do it. And, he announces to Gamma, like, maybe you're misunderstanding me a little bit, Mayor. Maybe you think just because I'm Balmonk's subordinate, I'm less dangerous than he is, or he's the only one you need to worry about. Let me tell you, man, my rank is A0. I'm the same ranking as Balmonk. He's only acting as our leader because, on top of being really strong, he also has that strange sorcery, so he can kind of mess with us. So that's the only reason we listen to him, is because he has that one power that's more a power, like that one aspect is stronger than we all are. But he's, in terms of just strength, I'm the same as he is. So, I don't know if they're doing like the ranking is similar to your strength. The first thing I figured out was, since basically the reason he got an A0 rank on his head, Balmonk, is because he set up his, circus tent in that town and he killed 20,000 people. This Waffle guy was clearly also there, so maybe like all the top ranking members of his circus were all given the A0 rank, because maybe they didn't know how to classify it. Like, okay, this tent showed up and all these people died, what are we going to do? It's clearly these, roving gang of circus performers, so let's just rank them all A0 for doing what they did. Because he just probably had as big a big deal as killing everybody as everyone else of the circus troupe did. He states, I have slaughtered over 1,000 people without getting a single scratch on me with take my sword. So he's basically Buggy the Clown. Gamma, like, releases, like, an attack, and he slices him right through with his sword, quite easily, like butter. And it doesn't matter, though, because Waffle just separated the boxes, so he is like Buggy the Clown. That's basically what he is. He ate the Barabaro no Mi, he's able to, any slash, able to withstand it. However, it doesn't take really a genius to figure out how to kill this guy, just from witnessing, how this guy's set up his base. So he grows, like, more hands all of a sudden, like, erupting from his boxes. He's, like, separating himself like freaking, like, a Jenga puzzle or something. And he begins to pull out the swords, and he, like, attacks him from different angles. Now, this power is actually kind of interesting, because you figure you have a box, okay, and he can separate himself as well. So you have one guy swinging a sword here, and then, like, next box up here, next box up here, next box up here, and he's, like, extending around you like a freaking snake with swords. And that's a pretty cool ability, but like I said, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. His legs, his arms, and his freaking head are sticking out of the damn thing. So what does Gamma do? He attacks his fucking legs. He slices them freaking up. And he can't do anything about it. He's just like, what do you mean this is my leg here? And it's like, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, really, dude? You're like, you apparently fought 1,000 people without getting a scratch on you. Were you fighting them in their freaking sleep? Were like 999 of them children? Because any idiot that's fighting you would be able to tell, if I slice up the box, he doesn't get hurt. Maybe I should target the other very obvious limbs that are sticking out of him. So Gamma's just like, dude, you know what was going to happen. Floom. He just literally just like in the speed of a second, like ninja speed, like speedlets, he slices this guy up from like horizontally from like 30 different directions and then straight down just for measure. So this guy got hacked up. All of his arms, all of his legs, he got like all of his boxes got shredded, and just for good measure, his entire head was just split right down the middle, and he is just demolished. He's like basically ash, and then it's like this rain of blood just falls down on him, and the chapter ends with Gamma just saying, I told you, don't fight me if you don't want to die, bro. I freaking told you like 3 times, Waffle. I'm gonna go get me some waffles now, and I guess that's how the chapter ends. So, yeah, that's chapter 15. Not a lot to really say about it, aside from just Gamma kicking ass like he always is. Like I said, next chapter will probably be, like, oh, this one's gonna be Elwood fighting, this one's gonna be Smith fighting, and, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I really am. I really want to see how Elwood's gonna fight. It might not be in the next chapter. Maybe they'll save Elwood for last, because, he's obviously, like, the one that's down and out. Whoever fights against Smith, I'm sure, is dead. There's no way they're gonna beat Smith. And then after that, they'll all three will move on to find the magic train somehow and catch up with Wolfina, and then having the final battle with Balmunk or something on the train. That would be pretty cool, like an Indiana Jones thing, like fighting on a train. That'd be pretty neat. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Go get some waffles. You know, they're pretty good. They're a great breakfast. They're like the best breakfast in my opinion. On the same level of bacon. You know, I'm a bacon guy too, but waffles, man, waffles will do it just nicely. Signing out.